Welcome back to BookCast FM, bringing books to life one cast at a time. And today we're diving deep into Adam Grant's Give and Take.
Yeah.
That book that really challenges how we think about success.
Absolutely. It really does kind of turn everything we thought we knew on its head.
Yeah, that whole idea that you have to be ruthless to get ahead.
Right, exactly.
But Grant suggests that it's generosity that can really propel you to the top.
When it's applied strategically, of course.
Strategically, yes.
That's the key.
So how does he redefine success in this book?
Well, he introduces this framework of 3 reciprocity styles.
Okay.
Givers, takers, and matchers.
Right.
So givers are those who are always willing to lend a hand.
Share their knowledge.
Yeah, go the extra mile without expecting anything in return. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the takers.
Right, the ones who are always focused on what they can get.
Yeah, always looking out for themselves.
Sometimes even at the expense of others.
Sadly, yes.
And then there are the matchers.
Right.
The one who like to keep things balanced.
A tit-for-tat approach.
Exactly.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Now, here's what's interesting.
What's that?
Grant's research found that givers are often found at both ends of the success spectrum.
It's true.
At the very top.
And the very bottom.
Why is that?
Well, it comes down to how they give.
Okay.
It's not just about being generous.
Right.
It's about being strategic with your generosity.
That's a really important distinction.
It is.
So how do those successful givers operate?
Well, the book has some really great examples,
Yeah.
like the story of David Hornick.
A very successful venture capitalist.
Right, and you think of venture capitalists as being,
Cutthroat.
ruthless.
Yeah.
But he's completely different.
How so?
He's incredibly supportive and collaborative.
Really?
Yeah, he genuinely wants to help the entrepreneurs he works with succeed.
So he goes above and beyond.
Absolutely, and that combined with his business acumen
Has made him incredibly successful.
in a field that's known for, well,
Intense competition.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's not just about throwing money at a problem.
No, it's about providing mentorship,
Guidance, genuine support.
all of that.
Interesting. So it seems counterintuitive,
It does.
but that's what sets him apart.
Yeah, in a world of takers.
Now, this idea of strategic giving, it ties into another concept in the book,
Which is?
the power of weak ties.
Ah, yes.
Those connections with people we might not know all that well.
Right, like former colleagues.
Acquaintances from conferences.
It's just a friend of a friend on social media.
I think we often underestimate those connections.
We do.
We tend to focus on our close circle of friends and family.
And that's where we're missing out.
So how are weak ties so valuable?
Because they give us access to new information, new networks.
Okay.
Things that our close circle just doesn't have.
New perspectives. So our
Yeah.
close friends probably know a lot of the same people we do.
Right, they're in the same circle.
But those weak ties,
They open doors to completely new worlds.
great way to put it.
And it makes sense why givers are good at cultivating those ties.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
genuinely interested in helping others,
Connecting people.
building community.
It's not about networking for personal gain.
No, it's about fostering genuine connections.
Now, another thing that sets givers apart
Hmm.
is their ability to spot potential in others.
Often before anyone else can see it.
Right.
The book talks about this phenomenon called the Pygmalion effect,
Okay.
which basically says that high expectations can lead to higher performance.
It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
When someone believes in you
You start to believe in yourself.
and you achieve more than you thought possible.
It's powerful.
I've definitely experienced that.
Think about a time when a teacher or mentor,
Or even a friend
anyone who really believed in you.
saw potential that maybe you hadn't even recognized in yourself.
Right.
It could be incredibly empowering.
It can ignite a spark.
Okay, here's where things get a little counterintuitive.
What's that?
Grant talks about this concept called powerless communication.
Interesting.
It seems to go against everything we've been taught about influence.
Right. We're always told to be assertive.
Command attention.
Fake until you make it.
Exactly. But Grant suggests that there's power in embracing vulnerability, being genuinely curious,
Truly listening to understand.
qualities that are often associated with givers.
It's true.
He even uses Abraham Lincoln as an example.
A master of listening.
Right.
He was always seeking out different perspectives.
It allowed him to build consensus
Understand the needs of others.
and ultimately lead effectively,
He wasn't afraid to admit when he didn't know something.
or to ask for advice.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
So maybe this powerless communication
Yeah,
could actually be more effective.
in certain
That's
situations,
possible.
by lowering our defenses, by truly listening,
We can create a more collaborative environment.
where everyone feels heard and valued.
That's definitely something to think about.
It is, and it raises an interesting question.
What's that?
Could this approach work for us?
I don't know. Maybe.
But as with anything, balance is key. right?
Absolutely.
It's not about being a pushover.
No, it's about finding that sweet spot.
Between generosity and assertiveness.
Speaking your mind, but also truly listening.
To understand,
Thankful.
being a thoughtful communicator.
Someone who's both generous and assertive.
Able to advocate for your own needs.
But also genuinely interested in the needs of others.
Now, speaking of balance, Grant also addresses the risk of burnout for givers.
Right.
It's easy to get caught up in helping others.
And neglect our own well-being.
We end up feeling exhausted, resentful.
And ultimately less effective in our giving.
So how do we avoid that?
Well, Grant emphasizes setting boundaries.
Okay.
Prioritizing self-care.
Mm-hmm.
And focusing on what he calls high-impact giving.
What does that mean?
It's not about saying yes to every request.
Right.
It's about being strategic with our time and energy.
Choosing where we can make the most meaningful difference.
For ourselves and for others.
So being a mindful giver.
Aware of our own limitations.
And making conscious choices.
About where to direct our generosity.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's about sustainability.
Yeah.
You can't keep pouring from an empty cup.
We need to take care of ourselves.
So we can continue to show up for others.
In a meaningful way.
Exactly.
Self-care isn't selfish.
It's essential for being an effective giver.
It's about investing in ourselves.
So we can invest in others more effectively. It's about investing in ourselves so we can invest in others more effectively. Now, this brings us to another critical point, avoiding the dreaded doormat effect.
Oh, yeah, the danger of being taken advantage of.
Exactly, which can lead to resentment, burnout.
Professional setback, even.
It's that age-old dilemma.
How do we balance generosity with self-preservation?
Right. How do we give without being taken advantage of?
What does Grant suggest?
Well, he offers some practical advice. The first thing is setting boundaries.
Okay.
We often feel obligated to say yes to every request.
Even if it stretches us thin.
Exactly, even if it compromises our own goals.
So learning to say no.
Even to reasonable requests.
Is crucial.
It's about protecting our time and energy.
It's not about being selfish.
No, it's about being selective.
With our giving.
With our giving, yes. Recognizing that our time and energy are valuable.
They're resources.
Resources that we need to manage wisely.
Okay, what else?
Well, we need to be discerning about who we help.
Right, not everyone deserves our generosity.
Exactly. Be aware of the takers.
The ones who are always looking to get something.
Without giving back.
Yeah, they can really drain us.
They can, so focus your energy on those who appreciate your generosity.
Leave those who reciprocate.
Exactly. Surround yourself with people who understand mutual benefit.
It's almost like doing a quick assessment before diving in.
Yeah, are we genuinely helping or are we just being used?
Right. Are we helping someone who values our contribution?
Exactly. Aligning yourself with people who share your values.
Makes sense.
And finally, be assertive about communicating your needs.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to express what you want.
What we deserve.
Right. It doesn't mean being aggressive.
No.
But be clear and confident.
About our needs and expectations. So finding that balance.
Between giving and being assertive.
Advocating for ourselves while remaining generous.
That sweet spot.
Where we honor our own needs.
While contributing to the well-being of others.
Now, this ties into another concept from the book.
Oh, which one?
The Scrooge shift.
Ah, yes, the Scrooge shifts.
How workplace cultures can influence our reciprocity styles.
Right, in a cutthroat environment.
Even generous people might start acting like takers.
Just to survive.
It's like the environment brings out our inner Scrooge.
That's a good way to put it.
That every person for themselves mentality.
Because that's what's rewarded.
The culture sets the tone.
Absolutely. But on the flip side, in a supportive environment.
People are more likely to be givers.
Because it's valued and rewarded.
It fosters trust and mutual support.
Generosity becomes the norm.
Not the exception.
Exactly.
So it's not just about individual choices.
It's about the culture.
Creating a culture of giving.
Within teams, organizations.
And if leadership promotes generosity,
it can create a ripple effect.
Throughout the organization.
Better inspiring others to give.
Leading to better team performance.
More innovation.
A sense of trust and camaraderie.
Everyone benefits.
When collaboration and support are the driving forces.
It's an idealistic picture.
It is.
Everyone thriving and succeeding together.
In a supportive environment.
But is it realistic?
That's a good question.
Can we really redefine success?
In terms of generosity.
Especially in today's world.
Well, that's the challenge Grant poses.
In the book.
He says we need to move beyond this narrow definition of success.
That focuses solely on individual achievement.
And material wealth. We need to widen our perspective.
Recognize that true success is more than personal gain.
So it's about something more profound,
more impactful,
making a positive contribution,
building meaningful relationships.
helping others succeed.
Exactly. And Grant argues that givers are uniquely positioned
To achieve this kind of success.
because they understand that true fulfillment
Comes from lifting others up.
as we rise.
It's a beautiful concept,
It is.
but how do we put it into practice?
How do we break free from that old mentality?
That success is a zero-sum game.
Well, Grant offers some advice in the final chapter. He
Yeah.
emphasizes prioritizing high-impact giving,
Focusing our energy where we can make the biggest difference.
aligning our generosity with our passions and skills.
To maximize our impact.
Exactly.
Being strategic and thoughtful.
About where we direct our generosity.
Not just saying yes to everything.
Right. It's about making a genuine difference.
And he reiterates the importance of setting boundaries.
Being selective about who we help.
Making sure our generosity is reciprocated.
Appreciate.
Finding that balance again.
Between being generous and protecting ourselves.
From burnout and exploitation.
And finally, he reminds us that giving doesn't have to be this grand gesture. It can be simple things.
Offering a listening ear.
Sharing our knowledge.
Connecting someone with an opportunity.
Small acts of kindness.
Can have a ripple effect.
Creating a more generous world.
It's about incorporating those acts into our daily lives.
Recognizing that even small gestures can have a big impact.
It's a more attainable approach to giving.
More sustainable.
It's about cultivating a mindset of generosity.
A way of being in the world.
That prioritizes connection, compassion.
And mutual support.
It really does change how we view success, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Moving away from that, individualistic, competitive mindset.
Yeah.
And towards something more collaborative and,
Impactful.
Impactful, yes.
It's one of those books that really makes you think.
It does. It stays with you.
It does.
It makes you rethink your assumptions about things.
Yeah.
So to wrap up,
Okay.
What are some key takeaways from Give and Take?
Well, the biggest one, I think, is that giving, when done strategically,
Right.
can be a huge driver of success.
In all areas of life?
Yeah, professional and personal.
It's about understanding those different reciprocity styles.
Right, givers, takers, matchers.
And recognizing the power of those weak ties.
Yes, those connections we often overlook.
And learning to spot potential in others.
And nurture that potential.
And of course, protecting ourselves.
Yes, avoiding the doormat effect.
By setting those boundaries.
Being selective about who we help.
And not being afraid to say what we need.
Communicating our needs clearly.
Finding that balance.
Between generosity and self-preservation.
Exactly, because we can't pull from an empty cup.
Right, self-care is essential.
If we want to be an effective giver.
Exactly.
And finally, it's about redefining success.
Expanding our definition.
Moving beyond just,
individual achievement, wealth.
Towards something more.
Meaningful.
Making a positive instant.
Building those strong relationships.
And finding fulfillment in helping others succeed.
It's a beautiful message.
It is. It really is.
It's inspiring.
So here's a thought for our listeners.
Okay.
How can you apply these insights to your own life?
In your work, in your relationships.
What small changes can you make?
Starting today.
To embrace this idea of give and take.
Maybe it's reaching out to someone in your network.
Offering your help.
Or maybe it's just listening more deeply.
Judging less quickly.
Taking those small steps.
That can create that ripple effect.
Of generosity and positivity.
And for those who want to dive deeper.
Into the book.
We highly encourage you to check out Give and Take by Adam Grant.
You'll find a link to purchase the book in the episode description.
You'll be supporting a brilliant author.
And you might just find yourself inspired.
To become a more strategic giver.
A more impactful giver.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive today.
It was a good one.
Thank you for joining us on BookCast SM, bringing books to life one cast at a time.